Terry, how's the volume? Higher? Miss Roberts?
Yeah.
You sure?
Oh, okay. Bills, pay the bills, take here.
I might as well just walk by.
Yeah. Give a report, yeah. So what do step? Oh, yeah, okay. You can go through this and just let them know that you have an item on the agenda. Does that sound okay? Oh, yeah. I've been. Thank you.
Phone's on vibrate, everybody?
What's that? Yeah.
On vibrate.
Oh, it's 6:02. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. One more time. Mrs. Tucker, can you take roll call, please?
Trustee Burt.
Present.
Trustee Fafel. Present. Treasurer Anderson. Present. Supervisor Miller.
Here.
Clerk Triplett is absent. Trustee Klee.
Present.
I'm like a waitress.
Sorry.
Trustee Campbell.
Present. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any additions or deletions this evening to the agenda? I think so. Any, do we have any corrections to the minutes from the regular meeting, February 6, 2023? Any corrections? No.
Everything looks good.
So I chatted with Tracy before about including the letter and informational items, but I didn't see any corrections to be made. So with no corrections, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those are stand approved. We move on to public comment. If you would like to address the board, I'd ask that you'd state your name. Or you have to come to the podium and state your name. We don't need your address, and you'll have 4 minutes to address the board. Anybody?
Gene Leverett, Senior. Thank God for being here, and it's a pleasure to be here again. I would like to, when I led that prayer the last time, I would like for us to remember some of the comments that I made in that prayer, and that was for us to be like-minded when we do and whatever we do. We know that responsibility and government of what we personalize ourselves with, we need to be focused on what we're trying to do. And all of us supposed to be like-minded, that we're in the effort of trying to make Flint Township make it happen, okay? So where I am with that, I would just wish and pray that we could have the like-mindedness of the effort that we put forth in trying to change the name, for all of us to put our heads together and try to put the effort forward of trying to move Flint Township forward. And what we have to do in the beginning of all that is to talk to these businesses and all of the things, all of the facilities in the township, and have them to pay close attention to curb appeal, because a lot of them are trashed out, because I go in them all the time. And I really don't appreciate people having to go past Flint Township and go to Troy and Birmingham to do the things they need to do. And we need to encourage those businesses to try to come on in here and bring first class stuff instead of trying to bring a little second class stuff in here. So my total mindset and effort is for us to make sure that we have something here to be discovered. God bless you. I think you all are doing a great job.
Mr.
Keep up the
Leverett.
good work.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
William Newsom. Just a quick comment. I was wondering, do you have a excused, unexcused system for anybody from the board that's missing from meetings? And if you do, when you're doing roll call, can you tell us if they're excused or unexcused? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newsom. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board?
My name is Gerald Roberts. Got my time?
I got it.
Okay. I live here in Flint Township. Lived here for over 50 years. It's the third time I've talked about this. I got my tax bill. And before, I used to be able to pay that before the end of the year. So I could take advantage of both my summer taxes and also my winter taxes on my income tax. But I start thinking, what, by me paying that, am I paying for? I guess I'm paying for everybody here's salary, I think. Everybody else here in Flint Township is paying for your salary. And I've talked about attendance probably about 3 times. It's the 4th time I've talked about it. And I don't know if it was the last time or the time before, I talked to having a proposal by one of you people suggesting that if the trustees are not here and they don't work that particular day, then it's prorated. They don't get paid. I didn't get paid if I didn't go to work when I was going to school. I worked at Flint Tent and Awning up at in the Beecher district. That's where I grew up. My mom and dad had a mom and pop store there. They worked real hard. They brought me up and they told me one thing. You go in, if you work for somebody, you give them an honest day's work and don't try to get out of it. If you don't go in there and work, don't expect to get paid like a lot of the people here are. I would like a proposal from one of you people to say, if there's a trustee that's not here, then they will not get paid. And I'd also like to see if one of the treasurer, the clerk, or the supervisor, unless there's a real good reason, health issues, funeral, sickness, whatever, death in the family, I think those are excusable, just like the other gentleman said that. But we're paying you people to be here. We're paying you to do a job. We don't expect you to be out in Arizona, or like our one clerk down there for years would go out and for 3 months out of the year would go down to Arizona. And I think I told you, I checked with the state attorney general's office at that point in time. We had a guy here, Layton, was a clerk. He decided he didn't want to come because he had a law office. Mr. Krieger would say, where in the hell is Layton? I come up here and ask for Layton. Where's he at? He's not here. Well, he's at his other meeting over here. Oh, at his other business. He's the law. We expect you people to be here for the time that we're paying you. If there's a 4-day work week, you should be here. If you're the clerk, you're the treasurer, you're the supervisor, unless there's a good reason as to why you're not going to be here. I can understand vacation time, but you know what these particular dates are. They're out there posted on the board there. Plan your vacations around those dates so that you can be here and do the job that we're paying you for. That's all we're asking. And then we'll pay our taxes. You know, maybe sometimes begrudgingly, but we'll pay our taxes. And I've paid my taxes for 50 years here. Thank you very much. And I will give the floor to Mr. Powell over here because he doesn't seem to want to talk, but he has an awful lot of things on his mind. Mr. Powell, you can come up and talk now.
I got something to say, you'll hear me.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board?
Evening. Neil Seward. My wife and I got pretty frustrated several years ago, and we said, we can't make a difference in Washington. We cannot make a difference in Lansing, but the two of us can maybe make a little small difference in Flint Township. And it started out with taking care of some flowers in front of the police station. Since then, I've attended a lot of meetings. I've come to special meetings. I've sat on some committees with some of you. We have extended that to the county commissioners. We are very involved with attending the county commission meetings and getting involved and sitting and participating with them as well. Last year, my wife and I attended a number of campaign events. And during those events, I remember sharing some photos of us with Governor Whitmer and Lieutenant Governor Dana Nessel and whatnot. And I just felt like maybe we were getting a little closer to Lansing. But one thing that really encouraged me is after the primaries, I met a young man who was running for our state representative. And I approached him, and it looked like it was really going to go his way, and I was confident. I approached him and said, when you become our state representative, please do not forget about Flint Township. Well, my wife and I also had the honor of being invited and attending his swearing-in ceremony. It was a Friday evening in December at the Flint Farmers Market. And I got to tell you, hopefully he gets more time than 4 minutes. But it is very exciting, the enthusiasm, and for the first time, I feel like we may have a vote and a voice and can make a difference in Lansing. So really excited that Jasper Martis is here with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seward. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? No, one more time. Anyone else want to speak during public comment? Then we're going to close public comment, and we're going to move on to reports. And the first part of my report is I would like to have Mr. Martis come to the podium, and he's going to address our board. He is our new representative from the 69th District.
Thank you. The Mr. and Mrs. Seward have heard all my jokes, so I don't feel as bad putting my back to them. Plus, he lied to a public body. Like, I mean, all those nice things. To lie to a public body. I'm the politician. I'm supposed to be the one accused of lying. But
He said young, but he meant very young.
Yeah. Don't let the goatee fool you. So I will address the board, but just for everybody here, know that it's because that's where the microphone is facing. I'm Catholic. It's not very hard to make me feel guilty. So it's hard to put it back to all of you. So as the supervisor said, my name is Jasper Martis. I'm the state representative for the new 69th District, which is Northwest Genesee County and the vast majority of Flint Township. During my campaign, I had the honor of knocking on a number of your doors, having great conversations, meeting folks, but more often than not necessarily meeting people, but finding those connections down my family line and their family's line, because my family's roots to our community stretch back well over a century. And whether it was in union work or in the classroom or in agriculture, each generation of my family has tried to figure out how to help others. And for me, it's been the honor of a lifetime to try to help others through this version of public service. Prior to getting elected, I worked for our Congressman Dan Kildee, also a citizen of Flint Township, and then I left my job at the State House to be able to run for the State House. During that campaign, I walked 1,005 miles knocking doors, lost 20 pounds, 2 pairs of shoes, and a relationship. And don't worry, it ended on okay terms. But during that experience, talking to folks, knocking on their doors, meeting them where they're at, more often than not, I talked to people who said that they'd never had somebody knock on their door, or that they were understandably cynical about the direction our country or our state or our community is taking. And even, knocking on the Seaward's door was one of my highlights, because they had a sign. They've heard me call them out about this before. They had a sign that I'd heard about for years, and then finally had the opportunity to see. It says, "We know who we're voting for. We already know who we pray to. Unless you have beer, do not knock on our door." So I went to Speedway and got some Bud Light and came back and knocked on the door. And through that experience, I was really reminded of the reason that I ran, that I'm at an age now where there's a lot of folks who are a little bit older than me, a little bit younger than me. They graduate from high school, college, or trade school, and they move somewhere else. They go to another part of the state or another part of the country. When I was knocking on doors, or even when I'm at the grocery store, I run into the kids and the grandkids of the folks I grew up with, but not those kids that I played on the playground with, which, don't let the goatee fool you, was only a few weeks ago, or the other folks that I knew from when I was young. And I learned from my work in Lansing that the only way a community like ours gets not just the resources it needs, but the respect it deserves, is if it has an advocate in the room. Just a few years ago, Genesee County had a very large delegation going to represent our community in Lansing. Now on the Democratic side, it's only Cynthia Neely and myself, and on the Republican side, Mike Mueller and Dave Martin, all of which I have great relationships with. But as we've seen our community lose folks, we've also lost representation in Lansing. And so I said to my leadership in Lansing, and I said to the folks that are my colleagues, that it was important, no matter the decision, no matter the area that we were discussing, that our community always has an advocate in the room. I'm very proud that when we went through the committee process, I have more vice chairmanships than any other freshman in the State House of Representatives. I was appointed vice chairman of the Democratic caucus and am a part of our State House's leadership team. And that's not because of anything special about me, but what's special about the community that I represent. That no matter what's being discussed or what's going on, our community needs an advocate in the room. And we have real potential in Lansing. We have the first Democratic trifecta in 40 years, only the 5th time that this has happened in 130 years. And you get past 130 years, you probably don't want a Democratic trifecta. But when we have this trifecta, and I say to folks that may be skeptical because there's a D next to my name, or because of the party that I come from, that so much of the work that we're going to be able to get done in Lansing, and what we've already been able to get done, has been bipartisan. It's just a measure, or just a metric of who has the gavel, who's in leadership, and that's what's going to determine what gets to the floor. And thankfully, I've been able to work with a lot of my partners to get things to the floor that are positive already. We've already passed a repeal of the pension tax, which is something that I heard very, very often when I was knocking doors. Nearly every day when I would ask folks what's on their mind and what issues matter most to them, it was about repealing the pension tax. This is going to be phased in over the next 3 to 4 years for most folks, trying to get rid of this crazy system that was instituted under the Snyder administration. We're going to see the pension tax fully repealed for public and private pensions over the next 3 to 4 years. But for firefighters and police officers, that's going to be done day one. We expanded the earned income tax credit, which is one of the best anti-poverty measures at either the state or federal level in American history. We've expanded that at the state level. We've also passed a few budget supplementals that put record funding towards housing, towards economic development, and we're only just getting started. The governor signed a piece of legislation at the end of January. This was the earliest that a governor had signed a piece of legislation since 1947. So we've already delivered on a lot that we're going to be able to do, and we're just going to keep going. So I come to you all, hopefully, this is not the first time that we've met, and if it is, I promise this is the beginning of a long-standing and fruitful relationship. I ran my campaign focused on my community roots, and through a belief that you can tell a lot about how a person runs a campaign, how they will serve in office, and of that vigorous door knocking, of going to the community events, of talking to folks. I am a lifelong resident of Genesee County, and I want to make sure that folks of my generation and a little bit older will continue to be able to say that they've been lifelong residents of Genesee County, reversing that trend of folks moving away. So I've already met with your economic development team and a few other leaders. I want to continue to have an open dialogue. However, I can be of help. Most importantly to me, where I think I can make the biggest difference, how I can get the resources from Lansing back to Flint Township and to Flushing and Mount Morris Township and all the rest of Northwest Genesee County. I don't know it all, and I never pretend to know it all, so I'm really going to defer to the leaders in our community of I know a little bit how Lansing works, how I can make sure that Lansing works a little bit better for our community. So I want to thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to working together, and I want to thank the C-Words for just being two of my favorite people in the whole world. And once again, just looking forward to working together. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, yeah, congratulations. So to finish out my report, I just want to answer the question that was asked about do we have excused or unexcused roll call when we take the roll here? And there's no excused or unexcused. You're either here or you're not. And to even further that, there's no requirement. You don't want to hear this, Mr. Roberts, but there's no requirement for any of us to be here. We couldn't have a meeting if we didn't have 4 people here. But especially for the next 2 years at least, you were asking about some sort of policy that we would voluntarily do as far as attendance. And I don't think we could change. We pay the trustees, all 7 of us are paid by a salary. And the law, as you know, because you've researched it, does not require us to keep any certain hours. Part of our duty is to attend the meetings, but if you miss a meeting, there's nothing to penalize you. And that's the way the law is written. That's the way we pay. Now, when it comes to the next term, we could, through our budget system and by resolution, change it where we would pay a salary, and then you'd give, I think it's the 4 trustees who could be paid per meeting too. But that's not going to change over the next 2 years unless everybody was willing to do that, because there's also a law that says you can't decrease anyone's compensation during that term. So maybe we could talk about it, or if you want to meet with any one of the trustees to share your idea, that'd be great. But
Can I add to that real quick?
Sure.
I think overall our attendance rate is very good as a whole. And this is not all of our work. We are out in the community. We are working well beyond the hours, the 4 days a week. We work Saturdays and Sundays or wherever the need is. We are out there. So when we start taking away money, let's pay some overtime for all the extra stuff that we put in. Thank you.
So the second thing I wanted to ask is at our personnel committee meeting this week, we had a conversation about forming a committee to update our policy or personnel policy manual. And we have decided that we would have 2 board members. We'd have 2 employees, and we're hoping to have a resident, specifically you, Mr. Seward, but I'll get with you later. Anyhow, I'm wondering if we've already I spoke with you, Kevin, to have one of your employees from the police department be on that committee, and I spoke with another person from in this building. So I'm waiting for an answer on that. And if we can't have more than 3 trustees anyway.
I've asked for the committee for quite a while.
So you're volunteering?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I said early on, back in November, December, that if you needed an extra body, I would gladly be there.
Alrighty. So that's that. That's my report. Madam Clerk isn't here tonight. Madam Treasurer, do you have a report this evening?
No.
We move on to trustee reports. Do we have any trustee reports? This way? No?
No.
I'm looking at Barb.
Just one. The senior center and their winter games have been canceled because of COVID.
Oh,
There's too many with COVID, so it's all been canceled till next year.
Did they have their shred day already?
No, that's May 4th.
May 4th? I know that Rose has been calling, we've had at least 20, 30 people call about shred day, and she's been giving them that
Be
information.
one in the fall.
Okay. And tax information, are all those dates booked over at the
You
senior
can
center?
call. There might be some cancellations. It's only on Fridays, but you can check. Anybody can call. It's free.
For
Every
seniors,
text-
right?
Yeah, free for seniors.
So just give a call over there to the senior center? Okay. Anything
Might be
else?
some.
Okay. Any other trustee reports? No? Yes.
I'm going to be quiet tonight. Everybody at that table's looking at me. I'm just sitting here very quietly. I'm good. Thank you. I just want to thank everybody more tonight in attendance than we've had in a long time. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to come here. And I am going to talk for a minute. Sorry. I think,
Wait a second, I already marked that off.
yeah, shocker. Thanks a lot. I just want to say that I hope that we are all doing what we're trying to do best for everybody out there. And if we're not, please, you guys all got my cell phone. You have it. You know how to get a hold of me. I answer it. I answer it all the time. I go to other stuff. People have shown up at my workplace several times, and I have no problem with that. I can make arrangements for that. I'm honored to be sitting here in my second term, and I have made some mistakes. I have angered a few of you out there in this specific room, a few of you, and I think we've cleaned that up. And I'm proud to say that, you make mistakes. Here's my hand. Slap it and tell me what I did. Let's move on. But we need to move on for the right reasons. And I feel I'm moving on and doing the right things for the right reasons. And I think we're trying. I'm honored to meet the kid over there. He smiled. He didn't even say who he was talking about. It's important that we keep our head. Leverett, senior. Go back to my notes. I wrote, better in your own house, keep them up, like-minded, be discovered, stay on task and focused. So if we can, all of us can try to do some of those things, we can stay on task and be focused. Thanks. And one more, I'm going to be my weatherman like I always am. Looks like Wednesday night and Thursday are going to be ugly, people. So we could get ice, a lot of it. That's what it looked like when I left at 5:15 from the house. JR was talking. So just heads up.
Do you mention that because you're going to plow anybody's driveway who calls you?
Nope, I'm mentioning that because I would love a snow day on Thursday.
So we move on to staff reports. Mrs. Tucker, do you have a report for us this evening?
No report this evening.
Chief Salter?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Since your last board meeting, or our last board meeting, we responded to over 1,200 calls, which is about 88 per day average. We usually do about between 1,100 and 1,400 calls as the average. Sometimes up. Of course, in the summertime, it goes up because it's nice and everybody's outside. On top of the calls, we made 186 traffic stops, 102 business checks, and 61 residence checks. And as I said before, Officer Cheese has been doing security surveys at the different apartment complexes. He did Miller West Apartments last week, so he's still in the process of doing that.
And any of our businesses that are interested in having our resource officer, Chiza, come to their business and do a safety check, a survey, it's free, right?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And they would just contact the police department?
Correct.
Alrighty. Does that conclude your report?
That concludes my report.
You have
Thank
an
you.
agenda item, right?
Yes, I do.
Chief Beckley, do you have a report this evening?
I do, thank you. Since the last board meeting, February 6th, your fire department's responded to 46 calls. Of those 46, 6 of those were structure fires. I'll touch on a few of them now. On February 16th, we responded to 3 structure fires within about 4 hours of each other. 6 total incidents in that 4-hour time block. The first one was in the 3400 block of Brown Street. Fire crews arrived to find an unattached garage completely involved with fire. That fire also extended from the original garage to a nearby home, and 2 other homes were also damaged from the intense heat of that fire. 1 vehicle was also damaged in the driveway. There was a lot of buildings and items right within a real close proximity there to that garage. On that incident, we were assisted by Swartz Creek Fire Department, and also Flint City responded, but we were able to cancel them while they were still heading to us. And as always, our police department was there to assist us with evacuating neighboring homes and all of that good stuff. So we always want to say thank you to them for their help. And the cause of that fire appears to be an electrical issue inside of that garage. While there, we were called to the 3500 block of Suncrest Drive and Sunridge Apartments for a building on fire. Fire crews arrived to find a small fire in the laundry room that was partially extinguished with a fire extinguisher, but there was still some overhauling things to do. Damage was mostly contained to that dryer area, but there was smoke throughout the hallways and stairwells of that building. Again, Swartz Creek Fire Department assisted us on that incident due to them already being on our previous scene, and our police department did a great job again with evacuating the residents of that building. While cleaning up the equipment from those 2 fires, we were called to the 5200 block of Corona Road, right around the corner here, for a sign on the outside of a building on fire. Luckily, that fire was kept really small and was extinguished quickly with just damage to the sign. So, busy day for us there. On the 18th, so Saturday night, we were called to the 5300 block of Court Street, right around the corner here, Court and Dye, for a kitchen fire. Crews arrived to find a kitchen completely involved with a fire. Fire was already coming out the back window of the house. All residents were able to get out safely, but damage to the home was extensive. 5 people were displaced from that home, 2 adults and 3 children. The American Red Cross stepped in and helped them out. And again, PD was there. They were a great help to us, and we have no items on the agenda this evening. But I do want to touch on something I was asked to by a couple of trustees. Kind of an overview of our EMS system, our emergency medical services. We were able to collect some data for a part of 2022. It's not a full picture, but we have February 6th through December 31st of 2022. Just some basic stats here. The data was really kind of hard to decipher, so this is the best that we could get. But in that time period, there was a total of 3,266 Tier 1, or what they consider life-threatening emergencies in Flint Township. There was a total of 2,801 Tier 2, or non-life-threatening emergencies during that time. The national standard, they say, for Tier 1 medical response times is supposed to be 8 minutes and 59 seconds, 90% of the time. That's kind of the industry standard that I believe the EMS agencies strive for. During this time period, our response time in Flint Township was 10 minutes and 56 seconds. And for Tier 2 medicals, it was about 18 and a half minutes. So, Tier 2 medicals are a little bit less regulated, I would say, because they're not as threatening and a critical, but we were a little bit over that, just under 9-minute response time that they asked for. So that's a little bit of an overview. Again, I don't have a lot of details on that, but that is where we were from February 6th of last year through December 31st.
Are you continuing to keep stats this year?
We're trying to. They're a little difficult to get. I know there's a lot of communities that are asking for the same information, so we were able to kind of dial that stuff in the past and get a lot more detailed information about our community. Now, Assistant Chief Rowley had to decipher through the entire county's information in that time period from last year. So we are going to continue to monitor that. We do have a couple years ago response times, and they have definitely trended in the downward times there, but I don't have a full report there quite yet on a few years back. So, but yes, we will continue to monitor those.
And we're going to finish our committee reports, and we're going to come back to you, and
Sure.
You're going to go through the annual report. Is
Yes,
that right?
ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Worthing, do you have a report for us this evening?
Yes, ma'am. In the building department, year to date, we've taken in $29,529 in fees, 139 permits. Our construction value was at $1,285,037. we've conducted 829 inspections. Code enforcement right now, we're at 171. We have for rental inspections from year to date, from January 1st to now, we've taken in $48,600. And since we started doing them on 6/1 of last year to date, we brought in $151,531. And I have nothing for the agenda.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre, do you have a report for us this evening?
Yes, ma'am. I passed out a couple documents to you on the board so that you'd have reference. They're just mostly informational stuff that I wanted people to have so that they know. The first page is the ARPA, and that's just where we are, just so that you know. At the yellow orangish line, that's basically the balance. The green line is just for my reference. I've made journal entries up until that point. The orange line is what's been board approved and we've spent, but I haven't finalized the numbers. And then from the yellow down is just things that we've talked about, that this is where we could spend the money. Nothing's committed, nothing's, written in stone. But that's just an idea of where we're at and where we're going. If there's more ideas, I welcome any ideas so that I can put them on the list or take something off. If we know we're not going to do it, I can make any adjustments. But I wanted everyone to have that. So we have to spend the money by 2024. So, we still have lots of time, but we should be looking at if there's things, what else we'd like to fit in between now and then.
So before we move on to the next report, the wish list here below the yellow line for the trustees, you'll see that there is police station cameras. That's on the agenda tonight, so that's going to move up to the board approved items if we approve it. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep, whatever the number. And in addition, when I pass this out, Chief Salter said that there was something I will have to make an amendment to, the other body cams. They were waiting on another piece that isn't going to come, so there'll be whatever the difference is of what we spent and what was approved will actually come back to ARPA. So that's not reflected on here, but like I said, we just spoke about that a few minutes ago. So I'll get that changed and update this list.
Thank you.
That's part of the integration with the program at night, the CAD system and RMS system, which we didn't get. So therefore, it's about 30,000 to 40,000 coming back. And our cameras are still working great, though, even without that piece.
The second item is just an overview, and I put big red letters that it's a draft because I don't want anyone to hold me to these numbers because they definitely change. My books don't actually close till the 28th, so we still have expenses that could go in, revenues that could come in. But I wanted to just note that if you're looking at the bottom line, just because of all the extra revenue that we received, we're at like a 1.4 excess of our budget. So the original budget, you can see next to it, we expected like a 1.4 deficit. We're actually a 1.4 above. So it's a $3 million swing. And essentially these numbers in yellow are basically what makes up why we did so well last year. We didn't suddenly find a money tree. It's tons and tons of grants. We had $3 million come in from the grant income for the ARPA. We had a special assessment of the roads. There are a lot of businesses that paid in full, almost 50% in most of the roads. They paid in full. So instead of the 10 years of slowly getting the money back that we paid up front, a big, almost 50% came in the form of prepayments, where they just paid their assessment off. So those were some of the yellow ones. And then I put notes over here to the side, so if you're kind of reading through it, you can see there is definitely more income. This number I expect to go up as much as 500,000 because we have another round of state share revenue and another payment from the 425 that has to do with the airport. So it's going to be a great year, but not through anything that we've done, unfortunately.
Some of that additional revenue is the $1.2 million we got in grant dollars for the roads also, correct?
Yes, yep. There was definitely money that was earmarked for us specifically that increased this grant income. It was, I said it was all ARPA, but it was ARPA and road money.
And then, this is revenue. The first two pages, no, and yeah, and then
First two
the
pages are
last
revenue.
pages.
The last page is just a summary expense of a snapshot point in time when I did this report. That's what it was. So the first column is actual, and the next column was like the budget. So I didn't put any formulas in there, but if you kind of go down the line, you can see comparison. We underspent in a lot of places in our budget, some overspent, but we did fairly well with our budget, with the few exceptions of budget amendments, which I have for the on the list for later.
Great. Any questions for Controller McIntyre?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to say thank you for bringing this information. Understand you plan to kind of be a little bit more, bring those more often, just so that we're not at the 9th hour working on budget, that we will have a snapshot and know how that's going to be progressing as we move along. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
And like I said, I only did this one for 2022, just so that you kind of get an idea of where we are for last year, because my books technically don't close till the 28th, so this will change. But then going forward, we'll talk about this year's, the 23 budget, and where we're at and what, how well we're doing or where we're failing.
You'll close the books, then we'll start with the audit, and that should be finished June.
They're scheduled to be on site in April, and I have to have my reports filed with the state by June 30th. So by June 30th, I'll have to have this entire year wrapped up. And honestly, it doesn't happen till like mid-June when they actually give me the audit numbers and what, if there's any final journal entries and whatever we need to do to close the month, and like it'll be mid-June.
We'll have a presentation for the audit probably July, and we'll start the budget process all over again in August.
Yep. Hopefully in July, I'll have like a preliminary draft. I know we've pushed it to the limit and been in December when we're trying to approve a budget, but I'd like to get better at that and get the budgets out like sometime in July or August and start to have conversations about, let's get this so we're not doing it December 29th again.
Sure. So we move on to committee report. Thank you.
Thanks. I had a question, if I may. Directed to two gentlemen there. It states here we had rental compliance $102,000, and your question was, first year, will this continue? And if I may, to the gentleman at your left, my right, I wrote 151,531 so far this year, close to about that. It looks to me total.
That's total.
I'm sorry. 48.6 is my other number. So
Yes.
in my mind, I'm thinking this is great.
Yes.
Because this rental compliance ordinance there's $102,000 that we didn't anticipate.
Correct.
And it showed up very nicely in here, and I'm glad to see that we're on a positive track in that respect. So it's generating dollars. Awesome. I saw that. I'm like, oh, I like that. That looks good. And then, sorry, where was I at? Oh, and then you go back over to fees and all those pieces, and the numbers are coming in. So we're doing some good things. And I know I can't have dialogue with anybody in the audience, but there was a gentleman, one of the first ones that talked about Flint Township and doing good things. And obviously, if we're doing all these permits and all these fees are being collected and we're using them for the right things, we're doing the right things. So I think those departments, or all of our departments, look to be kicking butt and taking names. Thank you, Kevin, for keeping track of all of it.
Sure.
You and I had a couple conversations. I appreciate you spending time.
Yep. Again, same. This goes to anyone on the board. If you have questions, let me know. If you want to see something, let me know. I can get reports 8 ways from Sunday. Whatever you want to see, I can make available to you.
And I'll vouch for heat. I walked in at 3:30, a little after school, and I think I was in there for an hour and 15 minutes, and I didn't want to take up his time, but he was working, and I was writing notes, and he did something, and I asked another question, got more notes, so thanks. Appreciate that.
Anytime.
So we'll move on to committee reports. John, you said you had a road advisory committee report?
Good evening, Township Board. I'm John Whiteside with the Secretary of the Township Road Advisory Committee. And I just wanted to give you a report on our last meeting, which was a week ago, February 13th. And at that meeting, we have talked in the past about the dirt roads we want to do, gravel roads, and we're looking at doing an area in the Bronx, which is Hemp Hill and Fenton Road. That whole neighborhood needs some work. That would be block grant money, so obviously the Road Advisory Committee doesn't dictate or have any real say in where that goes. That's up to the board, but we give advice. And we had the meeting, we had 6 of our 9 members there, and Mike Pfeiffer was also present. And the reason we had the meeting was we had a video conference, kind of like a Zoom meeting, with a company that it's Substrata Solutions, and a member of the Genesee County Road Commission. And they have a process, a chemical solution they use on gravel roads. It's called Permazyme, and it dissolves into the soil and stabilizes the road surface for many years. They're saying 7 to 10 years. And it also has less maintenance because when it bonds the road surface, you don't have to do the road grading and all the chlorination that you normally would do. It's supposed to save you money there. So the presentation covered the process, and the application on the road surface, it requires several steps, and they walked through those steps with us. They talked about ripping up the base, getting it loosened up. Then they put recommend a water treatment, then a reshaping of the road surface. And then they apply another water treatment, and this is just done with the water truck the county uses. And they add this Permazyme to that water treatment, and they put it on the road surface. And then they tell you to roll with a compactor. And then the last application is just a wheel compactor, which is smoother, and that packs down the road surface. They said you would have to have just car traffic on that for 3 days, but they can be on it right away. And they recommend no heavy trucks for the 3 days. The other thing they talked about when putting this down, you would have to have at least 6 inches of base, whether it's already there or we would have to add to it. But since we were talking about doing this area, re-limestoming this area, it's something we wanted to look into. Now that way we're at least taking care of the money the best way we can. The advantage is it creates a concrete-like base, and the chemical is very concentrated. So they get it in buckets, they add it to the water trucks. And the county has done this in Atlas, Mundy Township, and this process has been used all across the United States. And the company, we had the company representatives and Genesee County Road Commission on that meeting. If there's any concern about the chemical, it's non-hazardous, it's environmental friendly, so there's no danger to the ground or anything like that. One comment they made, you could probably drink it, it wouldn't kill you. They said they wouldn't recommend it. But anyways, the Permazyme it's classified not as posing any significant risk to human health. So I'm going to give you a website, and you can go to that website, click on the link that talks about Permazyme. That website is www.substrata.us, like substrata.us. And I actually went on there and I printed off one of their informations. And it's pretty involved. I mean, it gives you something to look at so you see what we're looking at. This is just something we're exploring, and we'll have further discussions on whether it's worth spending the money on. So my second report is actually from Genesee Metro Alliance that I also go to for the Flint Township. And this is just kind of a short thing. MDOT was at our meeting last Wednesday night and gave an update to the I-475 project, where they're resurfacing 8 miles of I-475. And the project is supposed to start in November of 2023 and finish up by December of 2027. They also have a website you can go on, and I'm going to share that website with you. And that website is bit.ly/I-475, and it's PEL. I don't know if capital matters, but the capital matters, but the PEL is capital. So if anybody's looking for information on where MDOT is with that project. So that's all I've got for you tonight.
John, do you know if the 7569 interchange proposals listed on that website?
I didn't see it on there. I asked the MDOT representative. You're probably referring back to a few years ago they had discussions, and he said that's still years out. So
Okay.
probably at least 10 years out that they're talking about. Because I remember we went to some meetings. I don't know if any of you went to them. They had one at the airport. I think they had one down at the MTA building, and they were talking about a reconstruction of I-75 from the 2375 split to Corona Road. But sounds like that's been pushed back. Funding, you know how funding is. So. But this I-475 project is like $300 million. But there's a lot of valuable information on that website if anybody wants to look at it.
Thank you very much.
John, I have one question. So you said the 475, it's starting November of 23, and how long is that? How long did you say it was going to take?
I think I got the time.
December 2027.
Well, that's the whole thing, but they have it broke down. Let's see if I can find it in here.
Thanks.
While he's looking for that, I went on that Permazyme, and this is crazy. One of the things it says, perfect for pond lining, cuts down on seepage, decreases erosion, not harmful to water or the ecosystem as well as those the fish within it.
It's an organic product. Didn't they say it's a derivative of molasses?
Didn't she? Yeah, I think
Probably
she
tastes
did.
good.
Jane was at the meeting.
Yeah. Alrighty.
They do have other treatments. That company has other treatments available, like to cut down dust. But we were just looking at the Permazyme.
The duration. Oh, do you have the duration of the project?
I found it. They have it broke down to a north segment and a middle south segment, and they have their timeline. The final design for this north segment is spring of 2023, and they have potential. Not sure what they mean potential letting, but anyways.
Bidding. Yeah, they let the bid out.
And then, okay, that's the bidding.
Yeah.
And they said construction spring of 2024 through the fall of 2025. Then the middle and south sections, they have construction spring of 2026 to the fall of 2027. And that involves reconstructing some bridges, but they said that most of that section is over 50 years old. But some of the bridges, the gentleman from MDOT said some of those bridges still have 20-year life in them. So they don't want to remove stuff they don't have to. And they also, if you remember when they were talking to the media, they were talking about the section through downtown Flint, bringing it up to street level, and making it like a boulevard. They said that's not going to happen. They've pushed that aside. All right, thank you.
Thank you, John. Do we have anything from Trustee Pfaff-Dahl, anything from the Plan Commission? When's our next meeting?
It'd be the second Thursday of March, so it would be the 9th.
March 9th? Okay. And, yeah, do we have anything from ZBA?
We did not have a meeting this month. We have something on our agenda that is coming back from a meeting 3 meetings ago where the parties had a conversation and they were going to take care of some issues and then bring it back to us. So,
When's your next meeting?
Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month.
Thank you. All right,
Thank
that's it for reports. We'll move on to the A under reports. That's your annual report. Chief Beckley, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll try to make this quickly here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's about 15 pages or so long, but just kind of some highlights. Last year in 2022, your fire department responded to 1,137 incidents, which is about a 23% increase over 2021, which was about 924 incidents, if I remember right. Unfortunately, we did have 2 fire-related fatalities in 2022. Our response time in 2022, our average response time was 6.24 minutes, and that was primarily responding out of our Bristol Road and Flushing Road stations, with Station 1 being open when staffing allowed us to. Staffing last year, we promoted a fire chief, had 1 full-time firefighter retire, and hired 2 new full-time firefighters. We did have 2 on-call firefighters retire in 2022. Cost recovery, this is something we were just discussing earlier, went up from $21,950 in 2021 to $40,387 last year. This was mostly due to a contract that was started with the fire department and Fire Recovery USA, who is a cost recovery company. They bill for all of our vehicle accidents, extrication, car fires, and structure fires. They actually bill for now as well. They deal with all of the collections on that stuff, and they write the township a check once a month, and they keep 22% of those fees. We receive 78. So that a partnership is definitely paid off in the last year. We are still working well with them, and that seems to be going well. We did receive a $2,600 grant from the Hunter Club of Genesee, Shiawassee, and Lapeer County. So that was definitely a help to us as well. Kind of some equipment updates. We did order our new ladder truck last year. I just got word that is beginning to be built, and we are still expecting delivery on that July, August of 2023. So it should be here this year. We did sell our 1990 Chevrolet van and our 1996 fire engine that were both outdated and needed to go. Both of those did sell at auction in December of 2022. Hose testing was completed this year, which is a very labor-intensive process. Took 197 man-hours to test about 15,700 feet of hose total, which is about 2.97 miles. Had to do the math on it there. We did do some building upgrades, minor things to our fire stations, which we're hoping to continue on this year. Fire hydrants last year, we contracted with Genesee County Water and Waste to do all of the maintenance on our fire hydrants. That was very successful in the fall. They are constantly working on them right now, and they should start the painting process of our fire hydrants in the spring, which will be on a 5 to 6 year rotation. So they should start to look a little better for us beginning this year as well. Total, there were 95 hydrants in the township either repaired or replaced last year by Genesee County Water. So that was definitely an improvement there. Move a few pages ahead here. Fire prevention. Our department was present at least 30 public events in 2022 and does not include the nearly 100 smoke and carbon monoxide detectors that were installed throughout the community last year. Fire investigations, it's the duty of the fire department to investigate the cause and origin of all fires. Last year we had a total of 17 fires that were full investigations and included 6 fires that were intentionally set, 2 vehicles and 4 structures. Training, this is a very important topic to us. It's required by many different regulatory bodies and also important to make sure that our firefighters are safe and that we're properly equipped to serve our community. We trained for a total of 1,924 hours during 2022, and that number is just going to continue to go up due to the increase in regulations and things like that require more training. The full report, I believe, is in the agenda packet online if anybody wants to see it. We do have some photos and things like that in there. Let's see here. Skip ahead a few pages. A lot of pictures. We do have a breakdown towards the end of the report that has the number of incidents per month last year as well. So that does show, each month how many incidents we responded to. Just as kind of a side note, this year to date, I just looked at this earlier, we're about 50 calls ahead of where we were this time last year. Actually about 52 calls now with a couple of them that we've added today. Our calls are broke down in a reporting system by categories as well. So our fire series, our 100 series, which includes building fires, vehicle fires, dumpster fires, things like that. We responded to 152 of those incidents last year. That is an increase of about 10 from 2021 and about 10 more from 2020 to 2021. So we are seeing a little bit of an increase there, which is a little concerning, but we are doing the best we can to try to minimize those things. But that number is on the rise. And then the last page breaks down the number of calls by district. So we do have our township broken up into 3 districts, saying what stations can get to what area the fastest. Station 1 is by far our largest district because it is the most accessible district from here. We responded to a total of 485 calls in Fire Station 1's district, 237 calls in Station 2's district, and 415 in Station 3's district. And we received mutual aid from our neighboring departments 30 times last year, and we gave mutual aid to our neighbors 20 times last year. So there's a lot of information in this report. Obviously, if anybody has any questions on the board or even on the public, feel free. We're more than happy to explain these metrics, more in depth, or kind of where we're at with these. Some of these numbers have even changed in the beginning of 2023 when it comes to staffing, things like that. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. It's kind of a real brief overview of the report. There's a lot of information in there. So.
Any questions for Chief Beckley? Go ahead.
Yes.
How much does it cost the minute you drive out of your station?
Our cost recovery company, they have it broke down when it comes to personnel cost, the vehicle cost, maintenance on the vehicles, fuel, all of that stuff. Our current charge, I believe, for a fire engine is about $475 per hour is what the bill is there. They bill by the hour, so as soon as that engine responds to an incident, whether you're there for 10 minutes or an hour, it's basically billed that way. That's how the costs are broke down, especially on our on-call side. They're paid by the hour, so whether they're there for 10 minutes or 58 minutes, it's the same cost to the township.
Good question. Any other questions for Chief Beckley? No? This way? No? Alrighty, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move on to payment of bills, Madam Treasurer.
I'd like to make a motion that we pay bills in the amount of $1,717,056.53.
Is there a second to the motion, please? Or any questions for Madam Treasurer? Any discussion? Mrs. Tucker, will you take the roll call vote on the motion to pay the bills in the amount of $1,717,056.53?
Sure. Mrs. Vert?
No.
Trustee Pfaffdal?
Yes.
Treasurer Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Klee?
Yes.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
With comment.
Motion carries.
I should have commented
5 to 1.
before.
You had a comment?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Sorry, should have commented before she went. Again, as I try to say, in essence, to everyone out there, when we look at this, a lot of our money is that pass-through piece, and I reiterate that every time if I have to, so that folks get the understanding. Even though Kevin showed us that we got a few extra dollars, this $1 million that we're writing a check for is not money. We're not just writing it. It's pass-through, folks. I just want to keep reiterating that until we got new heads in the room tonight. I want other people to realize that we're doing our that's a lot of it's pass. We're not writing a check out of Flint Township for $3 million. Well, we are, but it's not coming up totally. It's.
Okay, we got.
Just get my point across. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Got to do it. Say it every
Moving on to action item A.
9 correspondence.
Chief, I don't think there is any. I just skipped over that. There's no correspondence or informational items, right? Right, Tracy?
No, I don't have anything.
We'll go on to new business. Action item A, Chief Salter.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I know I've been talking about doing this for quite a long time, and I'm finally put in front of the board. We've had a current camera system in our building since 2004. Of course, we made little upgrades here and there, but the quality of our camera system is in dire need of an upgrade. We currently got 32 cameras right now for the whole building, and I'm asking to get 44 cameras. These would be HD cameras. The current system we have right now, we cannot even put HD cameras on the wire. It's so old. And we researched 3 different companies. As you can see, there's a big price difference. You go from $24,000 up to $114,000. I think it's like that in any type of technology. We checked some places that had the number or the 24,000 one. They weren't too happy with the product they had. And of course, the number 3 is actually the person that does all our work in our system right now, and they're the highest. But again, that's like a $40,000 difference. We think we can get, for the best bang for our buck, the number 2 system, the EOS system, which is a Flint Township business. So I'm asking the board to approve purchasing the cameras through EOS.
Thank you. Is there someone like to make? Thank you.
Clee would move that we accept Chief Salter's work for and I'm looking for the exact quote. Hang on a minute. I got it. Thank you. Motion to approve the purchase of the new video security system for the police department. Included in that, I need to give you a value, and that is, one second, $71,596, and it is from a Flint Township-based business.
Is Second to the motion, anybody?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion for Chief Salter? Done good work. So, Tracy, can you call the roll on the motion to purchase the new video security system for the police department in the amount of $71,596 from EOS Business Surveillance Solutions, please?
Sure. Trustee Fafdahl?
Yes.
Treasurer Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Klee?
Yes.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Vert?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
The next action item is action item B. It's the 2022 budget amendments. Did you want to say anything on that, Kevin?
Just that these are the budget amendments that we need to adjust for different expenses that have come up. And like I said, it doesn't end until February, but I don't think there'll be any more, so I wanted to make sure we get these on and approved so that I can just adjust the budget. And as soon as the 28th hits, I can start closing my books and working on getting ready for the audit.
Would someone like to make that motion?
Cleve would move again to approve the amendments to the 2022 budget for the expenditures as provided by our financial person, Mr. McIntyre, the general fund professional services in the value of $20,000, general fund PD in the value of $33,000, general fund public works department value of $1.268 million, and in the police grants $84,000, in the fire equipment fund of $30,000. All of those listed in the resolution.
Is there a second to the motion?
Support.
So one thing we didn't talk a lot about was on the last page, the expenses. There's more departments than not that are under budget, right?
Yeah,
Thanks.
I glossed over that, but yes, we did very well in a lot of those
All right.
numbers.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to amend the 2022 budget with what was presented in the resolution. Any further discussion this way? Did you second it? Who seconded? You did.
Carol did.
Any
I was
further discussion?
trying to get
I'm just
Yes.
gonna, go ahead. You?
I was just getting my notes right. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm just not gonna support this because of the legal fees again.
Understood.
Any other discussion? No? Tracy, we call the roll, please.
Trustee Anderson, or I'm sorry, Treasurer Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Klee?
Yes.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Vert?
No.
Trustee Fafdahl?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1.
So our next meeting is scheduled for March 6th at 6 p.m. And if there's no further business and without objection, we'll call the meeting adjourned.